This is Mr. Hardesty. We're going to determine valid conclusions from two conditionals. Use the law of syllogism to determine whether a valid conclusion can be reached from each set of statements. Part A, Statement 1. If a figure is a square, then it has 4 right angles. Statement 2, a figure with 4 right angles is a rectangle. To use syllogism, we have to be able to use the rules for a conditional. And the conditional rule for syllogism says, if statement P is true, then statement Q will follow. And then if statement Q is true in the second statement, then statement R must follow. If those are both true, by syllogism, statement P will lead to statement R. Now, we'll represent our problem with P and Q and R. P we'll represent with the first hypothesis, a figure is a square. That's our P. And the then part, the conclusion in our first sentence, will follow. It has 4 right angles. That's our Q. Moving into the second statement, it starts with a figure with 4 right angles. Compare that to our first statement, that is Q again. A figure with 4 right angles, it has 4 right angles. We've said the same statement in a slightly different way. The conclusion in the second statement says that figure is a rectangle. The figure is a rectangle is our statement R. These two statements follow the scheme for syllogism. If the first statement is true, then Q follows. If Q is then true, then R follows. We can now make the conclusion, if P, then R. In other words, if a figure is a square, then that figure is a rectangle. Part B, Statement 1. Perpendicular lines form right angles. Statement 2. The sum of complementary angles equals 90. Once again, we're going to try to use the law of syllogism to come up with a valid conclusion. Just like we did in Part A, we're going to follow the scheme of if P, then Q. If Q, then R. Then we'll be able to say if P, then R. Our statement P will be perpendicular lines. And those perpendicular lines form right angles. The right angles are statement Q. Statement B, or statement 2, pardon me, says the sum of complementary angles equals 90. The sum of complementary angles is actually a statement R. And finally, it says it equals 90. That's a totally different statement as well. We can call that S. P, then Q, R, then S. Clearly here, the law of syllogism is not at work, and so no valid conclusion can be reached.